Am I the jerk for suing my parents for my college money? My great-aunt set up savings accounts for all of her female relatives. In our culture, education for women is not really valued, and she thought that was bullcrap. She lived with her father in London, where she was educated. She went on to attend university and became a doctor. She married a British man, they moved to America and had a great life. She funded the education of as many of her nieces and grandnieces as she could. When she passed away, she left money for every girl relative she could. My parents managed to access the accounts that were set up for my sister and Elle. They used it to pay for my brother's wedding. My sister didn't care because she got married 2 years out of high school and had no intention of going to college. When I graduated, I went to the bank to get money for school and it was almost all gone. There was like $13,000 left. I asked my parents about it and they said they had needed the money. I finally found out where the money went. I got furious. I got student loans and moved out. I am a great source of shame to them and I don't give two craps. I am currently suing them for the money that was left for me. My entire family is against me. They all think I am a complete butthole for airing private family business in public, and that I am putting money ahead of family. My friends are all on my side, but they are all Americans and don't really get my culture. Neither do I, to be honest. My brother called me up and offered to pay for my university if I dropped the lawsuit. I agreed as long as we had a legally binding contract. He said I was being an butthole for not trusting him. I said he should not have accepted my money for his wedding. It is causing all kinds of embarrassment in our community. I am somewhat ashamed to be doing this, but I don't want to have this debt I should not have. Am I the jerk for ruining a proposal? My girlfriend just bought a house and is so excited. She invited a ton of people over for a housewarming. She put so much work into everything. The house looked amazing, and the food was delicious. Right after dinner, while my girlfriend was getting dessert, her brother proposed to his girlfriend. I was mad because he hijacked my girlfriend's event that she worked so hard for. Before she could answer, I told him to sit down and quit being so rude and disrespectful to his sister. He was mad, but his girlfriend looked so embarrassed. They ended up leaving. The party was very awkward after that. A lot of people left early. My girlfriend's mom was furious at me, because she wanted her son to stop living in sin and I ruined it. My girlfriend said I was sweet but didn't need to do that. Her brother texted me calling me a prick. Was I a jerk for telling them to have some class? Am I the jerk for telling my grandchildren's father I don't owe his other children anything? I lost my youngest daughter Joy a decade ago. She left behind her husband and 2 children who are now 15 and 16 years old. My daughter was very close to her dad and me, and when she was at her sickest, she begged us to stay in the kids' lives and make sure they always knew she loved them and that we were her family just as much. She mentioned how worried she was that her husband would encourage them to forget her and would try to replace her for them with a new woman. She asked that we leave anything we might have left her to her children. We assured her we would never let the relationship end and that we would make sure they had a good life and would remember her always. 8 months after she died, her husband moved his now wife into their home. She had a baby with someone else and was also expecting a baby with someone. At that point he did attempt to make it a package deal where we could not see our grandchildren without treating his now stepchildren as our grandchildren, and that we were to treat all future children of his the same. Otherwise we would need to be cut out to give our grandchildren the chance to form the new family bonds without interference from us. That they deserved the chance to have another mother and only see the new children as true siblings. Their lawyer told them we would have a case to get grandparents' visitation. We also sought advice on if we were denied access, if we could obtain that. We were told given our close relationship with the children it would be easy to get access through the courts. This led to us getting minimal access, but it was all that was needed because our grandchildren were glad to see us and their aunts, uncles and cousins. In the last few years my former son-in-law has found himself estranged from his own family, and his wife's family are also no longer in the picture, and he has 6 children, not counting my grandchildren, in his home with no family or support outside of him and his wife. Now that my grandchildren are teenagers, they seek to spend more time with us and their lives have benefited from it. We admittedly spoil them more than some would like because of the circumstances, but they are wonderful children. Their father confronted me recently about his other children and how they have no extended family and are suffering seeing their siblings being spoiled. He also said we had already come between our grandchildren and their siblings because they are not close and have never asked for their siblings to be part of the extended family they have. He told me I owe it to his children to step in and give them love and some of the same spoiling. I told him I did not owe his children anything, and that I would never forgive him for what he attempted to do before. He told me I was cold-hearted and callous. Part of me wonders if he's right because the children are innocent, and even though I have never considered them family, they are still young and nothing to do with my former son-in-law's actions. Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend's dad he was dead? My boyfriend left home on his 18th birthday after a big fight with his dad. He tried to reach out after that, but his dad completely ignored him and wanted nothing to do with him. My boyfriend was really depressed about it, but he eventually got over it. I remember one night we all got drunk, we're apartment sharing with friends, and he told us that he was dead to his father, and that stuck with me. Yesterday, he just showed up, my boyfriend's dad, that is. Myself and one of our roommates were the only people home. I answered the door, but I didn't let him in. He said he wanted to talk to his son and I said, "Oh, your dead son?" He must not have remembered or understood the reference, because he went completely pale and asked how/when he died. He looked almost as upset as my boyfriend had been, so I decided to let him stew in it. I told him a fake story. He looked like he was going to throw up, and he asked if he could come in and have some water. I reluctantly let him, because he seemed very ill. Once inside, my roommate saw us and asked what was going on. My boyfriend's dad asked if he knew his son, and my roommate was super confused and it quickly came out that my boyfriend wasn't actually dead. My boyfriend's dad was furious. He said I was a sick person with a hateful heart. I told him he said his son was dead to him, so why would he even care? He said he made a mistake in a moment of anger, but I made a cold-blooded decision. My roommate also said that what I did was messed up. I went to our room and called my boyfriend, who said to make sure his dad left before he came home, which I did, and he did, reluctantly. I didn't tell my boyfriend about the dead thing, just that he showed up and seemed to regret things. My boyfriend is shocked by his dad just showing up and I don't want to pile more on. My roommate said I was a huge butthole because no one deserves that, but I'm not sure. He did look so sick, but part of me thinks he brought it all upon himself. I don't know. Edit. One of you made a compelling case to tell my boyfriend as soon as possible about telling his dad he was dead. He wanted to know what his dad's reaction was and kept asking if he said anything other than asking for more information before he found out it was a lie. He only really asked questions like when, how, was it sudden, and such, and my boyfriend was pretty disappointed by that. He's pretty depressed this morning. Am I the jerk for not sharing my inheritance? I recently lost my mother to cancer. Me and my brother are her only children. For the past 7 years, I've been staying in an apartment my mother bought. She always told me that when she died, she wanted me to have it because she worked so hard to ensure I always had somewhere to live. So when she died, she left me the apartment in the will. My brother has no issue with this. He makes more than enough of his own money and actually owns an apartment in the same building. However, my aunts, A and B, have an issue with this. A has had money issues for as long as I've known her and my mother was always helping her out with money when she was alive. B is financially stable, but in no position to help A. They both think that since I make enough money to be able to rent a place, I should let A stay in the apartment and rent my own because that's what my mother would have wanted. I said no, stating that my mother wanted me to have a place of my own. I am currently saving all the money I would have used on rent and intend to buy my own house when I have enough saved. When I said no, they then suggested that I should share some of the money my mother left me with them. She had 2 life insurance policies, both of which went only to my brother and I. She also left us the house and her car. Basically, everything was split between my brother and I and no one else got anything. My aunts feel that this was wrong and that they, especially A, deserve some of the money. My brother blocked them all on platforms when they asked this of him and suggests I do the same, but I feel guilty about cutting off my family. But I also feel strongly that if my mother wanted them to get money, she would have left them something. But she didn't. She chose to leave everything to my brother and I. My aunts are saying that my mother did that because she assumed we would share. But I knew my mother. She would have told me if she wanted me to do that. All she said was that she wanted to die knowing that me and my brother would be able to support ourselves. So, am I the jerk for not giving money to A or allowing A to stay in my apartment? Am I the jerk for telling my sister she's the reason our parents are divorcing? About a month ago, my parents announced they were getting divorced. This has been quite a shock to most people as they seem to be having no issues out of the ordinary. However, I have been the one privy to the information of why they are divorcing. It's because of my sister Anne. Anne is a deadbeat. She has never worked more than 14 hours a week since getting expelled from college for multiple acts of cheating and code of conduct violations 5 years ago. All she does is sit at home most days watching TV or going over to her loser boyfriend's house to get high. She feels no need to support herself and expects my parents to carry her through life. She's been in therapy since she was 14 but cannot keep one for more than a year because she gets dropped as a client due to her lying and inability to show up to appointments. My parents have spent over a decade trying to get some mental issue pinned down for Anne and all they've gotten is she's just a lazy narcissist. Last year my mom decided enough was enough and planned to kick Anne to the curb and wash her hands of her. Dad disagreed, and in the end, the two's marriage got torn apart. I know because both have come to me basically admitting that if Anne was not a factor, divorce would not even be a consideration. I don't get along with Anne for a variety of reasons. She has always been a bully and owes me a large sum of money at the moment. The thing that boils my blood though is that she's oblivious to the situation between our parents, or just doesn't care. She had a literal tantrum when the possibility of the house being sold came up because she didn't want to have to move to an apartment with my dad. Last night I found myself at my parents' house and had the misfortune of talking to Anne. Anne mentioned that she's getting really sick of my mom's melodramatic crap and not just leaving the house to her and my dad. Something struck me at that moment and I just asked Anne if she really does not care that she's such a selfish, garbage, waste of space human that she's driven her parents to get a divorce. I elaborated, and told her the full truth that she is in fact the only reason they are getting a divorce because moms finally realized that there is no hope and will ever grow up. The crap storm this caused was massive, and acted as if I sold her out to the Romans and my parents argued between she deserves to know and we told you that in confidence. Because Anne cannot keep her mouth shut either, the entire extended family has begun to hear too. I want to know before opinions start forming outside the inner circle if I am the butthole here.